My name is Gustav Lind and I am the Vice Chair of the Global Agenda Council for the Arctic, and I'm here to talk about its future. Climate change is hitting the Arctic twice as much as the global average. If you see the ice cap is melting, we had a record low in 2012, for example. The Arctic is changing as a region and will be something completely else. And that makes the Arctic unique, and it's also a place where you can sort of look more long-term. Where are we now and where do we want to go? With the ice cap melting, new shipping routes are being opened up north of Russia and north of North America. A lot of work will have to be done for it to be a viable and competitive possibility to go north of Russia. The Russian government is though putting a lot of priority into this. They say they will develop much of what is needed. You need better communication, you need navigational support, harbor capacity, search and rescue. Many of the big companies are looking at that now. It's interesting, especially this summer, for example, China had a container ship pass, the first container ship that passed the entire Northern Sea route. South Korea passed with a Swedish registered ship, the Stena Polaris, but still things have not picked up yet, but I think they will do so too soon. An important part of the public debate on the Arctic concerns oil and gas exploitation. And there are big reserves in the Arctic. Around 10% of the undiscovered oil can be found in the Arctic, and around 30% of the undiscovered gas can be found in the Arctic. With the shelf gas revolution and the declining prices of gas, you see that all Arctic states with coasts, that is everyone except for Sweden and Finland, are exploiting gas, looking for different gas resources. And of course, in oil exploitation, the big debate is over the environmental hazards in the Arctic. There are two different aspects of them. One I would say is a sort of normal use of oil will give more greenhouse gases. Another part is that if there is an oil spill in ice-covered water, that is very difficult to address. In the Arctic Council now, the states have signed an agreement to cooperate if there would be oil spill, and of course this is an important step forward. A lot of the discussion about business interest talks about oil only, but of course there are very many other sectors which are extremely important. Shipping is obviously one of them, with the new shipping routes opening up in the Arctic. Mining, very important. We have had mining for a long time in the Arctic, but with a high resources price, now we see a boom. And also with the possibilities to dig rare earth minerals, and the need for these new mines are being opened up. Tourism is another very big business sector in the Arctic, where you see tourists seeking sort of new experience and see what is pristine. I think infrastructure investments will be very important the coming years, because with the economy picking up, you will have more people perhaps moving up north to work, and you have the permafrost melting, and some of the infrastructure in the Arctic is built on the permafrost, and if you have caves, cave-ins and so on, that will have to be rebuilt. If you want to engage in the Arctic, I think it's important to have very good contacts with the locals. Of course, they want to be part of the discussion, and the government regulation demands this in many of the jurisdictions in the Arctic. For example, the LKAB mine in Kiruna in Sweden, north of the Arctic Circle. They've been mining there for 120 years, and at the same time working to build up the city of Kiruna. Because their problem now is, of course, how do we attract people to work in the mine? How do we attract engineers to come to Kiruna? So they invest in schools, for example, because they know that people working at LKAB want good schools for the kids. And this is a way to attract people to come up north. From a legal point of view, the Arctic is more normal than people in general think. These are 8 sovereign countries, and of course it's no difference being a company in Switzerland to being a company in Sweden. You have to sort of apply the laws in the local jurisdiction. If you're a business who want to invest in the sea, it's the same thing in the Arctic as the rest of the world, with territorial waters, the right to economic zones, and also to continental shelves. The states have, like the rest of the world, jurisdiction of the water column and seabed in the economic zones, and also the seabed for natural resources in the continental shelves. I think what is perhaps more positive in the Arctic compared to many other regions of the world is that the regional cooperation between the states work very well within the Arctic Council, which is the regional organization. Of course, these are big states in the Arctic. You have the US, you have Russia, but the cooperation is very good and very close. And I think the reason for that is that all the Arctic states understand that this is a huge region. It is changing rapidly, and there is a very big demand for cooperation, because it's very difficult to do anything alone in the Arctic as a state or as a company or as a person. So you need to cooperate in the Arctic. From a government perspective, you have to handle that. For example, if the infrastructure is built on permafrost and that is melting and caves in, you have to do investments. And of course, there's a huge need for harbor capacity, there's a huge need for communication, navigational support, search and rescue, and such things. I think it is important to know that the people living in the Arctic, they want jobs like everyone else. They want tax income to their communities. And of course, business and investments are extremely important to make the Arctic attractive for everyone, the people living there, and also other moving there. I think you should look at the Arctic, but you should look at to be there more long term, and also with the sustainable business practices will be important.